It looks like we're live. So it's Sunday, May 4th, 2025. Clive is joining us in a few minutes. The title today is This is What Happened to Weimar Germans Who Trusted Government and the Currency. Um, and I think there are a lot of parallels to what happened back then to what's happening today. The most different thing, though, is that the West is facing a Weimar event, the whole of the West. Back then, it was only Germany and some of the Central Powers like Austria, Hungary, uh, and a few others that were part of the old Austro-Hungarian Empire. Anyway, let's see, quite a few of you here already. About 200 almost. So I'm just gonna do the usual. Say hello to those of you who are early. Jake's Custom Parts is here. Ohio Silver, Endurorama, Nashville Pasta Man says good morning from Nashville. Ohio Silver, Elias El Khoury from Saudi Arabia, KSA. Renting Scotsman from Scotland. Silver Drill Pickle says, good afternoon, Mario. John Barleycorn, evening, Mario. Rudy is here. He's having a nap. I saw someone asked earlier, said they hope Rudy was having a walk. Well, we had a walk earlier today. Yesterday, though, we went to the park. Rudy, he really loves going to the park, gets very excited. And the weather's nicer now, so we can go more regularly. Patty Jones, Port St. Lucie, Florida, near Vero Beach. I know Port St. Lucie. Steve Michelle's, beautiful day in Central Florida. Well, today here wasn't too bad, but it was cooler. It wasn't that warm. I did play golf this morning. It was good. Played well, which is nice. Birdied the last hole. Olivier Leroy says, good evening from Paris, 12 degrees. Yeah, it's pretty much the same here, maybe a little cooler. James Red Helicopter says, hi, Mario. Brian Callahan from Omaha, talking about Omaha. It looks like the Oracle of Omaha, Warren Buffett, has retired. He announced it yesterday. Twin June from Connecticut. Nashville Pastorman, thank you for your super chat. The Dying Money, Jens Parsons, have you read it? No, I haven't. I'll write it down. I've got a pad here. I'll write it down. Dying Money, Jens Parsons. Sounds German. Well, I have a good German friend who's named Jens. Parsons seems a bit more Scandinavian. Uh, Peace and Joy from Minnesota, first time listener. Great to see you here. Peace and Joy 57. Uh, Philip from Hamburg. Great to see someone from Hamburg. Hanseatic League and all that, Hamburg. Princeps Viridis. Peace, Mario. Thank you for your videos and what you give to the community. You're welcome. Well, thanks for all of you as well that are interested in listening to what I have to say. We wouldn't have this community if it wasn't for you guys either. Swedish economist. All right. Yep. Fleer Fluitert from Netherlands. Sorry if I butchered your name. Those Dutch names aren't easy to pronounce sometimes. Andrew Watson. Hi, Marion Rudy from Basingstoke. Althea Macaulay. Althea Macaulay says we live in the matrix, the outcome of the Canadian election, and then took the outcome to Australian election. Yeah, they both elected lefties and globalists, I guess, which is, I mean, I always, as I always say, if if voting matter, it would be illegal. Yes, we have to follow what's going on politically, fiscally, monetarily, but in the end of the day, you need to look after yourself and be self-reliant and not depend on these people. This is just like it's just like entertainment politics. It's just like watching sports, right? And I do watch sports. I only watch golf though, but I used to watch a lot. But the only reason I watch golf is because I play it as well, and I like watching it. And I don't watch it that much anyway. Anton Spoe from Bratislava, Slovakia. Uh, Ribbons of Moonlight. Pause my gardening to listen. Wow, thank you. Um, yeah, that's nice. 2HD3X. Thank you for your super chat. You should watch Europa, The Last Battle. All right, I'll write that down as well. I think someone mentioned that in one of the videos I watched. The last. Writing it down so I don't forget. Rick Enfed from Nebraska, Dillwyn Roberts, Kroike. I got a comment from someone last week. Oh, you should stop doing this introduction and greeting everyone. It's boring, but I think people like it, and I'm not going to stop it. Truth teller, even long-term gold naysayers are now saying gold price to rise. Yeah, the bullion banks, bullion banks are always like calling for very conservative. They make very conservative calls, but we're going to talk about that. Yeah, there's a lot of people calling for a big correction. Um, yeah, we'll see what I think, and maybe, Clive as well. Michael Saylor. Um, Michael Saylor here. Don't forget to advise all your audience to mortgage their homes, cars. Yeah, yeah. I think you're being sarcastic there, Michael Saylor. Are you talking about the sailor with a Y that advised everyone to mortgage everything and buy Bitcoin? TK Timber, Mario, how do you know about Vero Beach? Well, my parents had a place there many, many years ago in the 80s and 90s. And my niece, she's from Switzerland, but she married an American from Vero Beach. She lives there. And yeah, we had a lot of friends in Vero Beach. The Moorings, that's where we used to go to in Vero Beach. And my dad had a really good friend there, Harry Walker, and he used to take me to watch the Vero Beach Dodgers. And that's where the Dodgers had their spring training as well. So I like Vero Beach. It's like almost like a second home. John Bethia Mary, you have really grown since I joined. You were really good. Oh, thank you. Well, I guess practice helps. Rudy's doing really well. There he is. We had a great walk yesterday in the park. We've been going a lot more regularly to the park, and he loves it. Subtopics of the live stream. Well, the main topic we're going to look at is the what happened in Germany in 1920s, and then I've got a list of stuff written down here, and then we're going to see what Clive wants to touch upon as well. And talking about Clive, he's just joining here, so I have to admit him into the Zoom meeting. That's how I do it through Zoom. And then it goes directly into YouTube. That's how we do it. Hi, Clive.
Hello, good evening, Mario.
Good evening. How are you doing?
Yeah, doing well. We had a nice lunch with some friends today,
Good.
and yeah, no alcohol though.
Oh, okay. Well,
How's your day been?
it's good. I mean, I played golf this morning, and it was at my golf club. We had a competition, the Silver Foxes versus the Young Guns, and I was put into the Silver Foxes because I'm getting older. And
Oh,
we beat them actually. So and then we had a lunch in like a really nice lunch and prize giving. So that was nice. It was a little cooler today, not as warm as it's been. I had one glass of red wine. That was it.
did you win any money?
No, no, it wasn't a money thing.
Hmm.
I got a bottle of wine. I brought it for my wife. So there you go.
Excellent. What's the topic tonight?
Well, the main topic is I'm going to bring up the hold on. I'm going to bring up it's the thumbnail of this live stream. It's pretty much so there we go. We waited for a pullback, but it was too late, and that's the price of gold in Germany in value of one gold mark in paper marks. And the topic today, Clive, is this is what happened to Weimar Germans who trusted the government and the currency. And the reason why want to talk about this a little bit is because a lot of people are saying, "Oh, we got to wait for a pullback in gold back to 2,800 or 2,500 or even lower than to buy it." But what I'm saying is that if you try to trade gold here after it broke out in Germany, uh, and you trusted the currency because if you read this book, Clive, When Money Dies, and I highly recommend it, people didn't realize that this was going to happen, this hyperinflation. They still trusted currency and paper, and but this is what happened. They kept held the bag for too long, and then their money was gone, and they're trying to get it from the bank, and there's nothing there. And the reason,
When you have hyperinflation, it quickly destroys all trust in the currency.
yeah, and the reason why I'm concerned, and I've been warning about this for over a year, or yeah, is because since we broke out of 2100, is because this chart. If you look at compared to this chart, you see you've got the same kind of consolidation here and breakout, and the same thing is happening to the dollar price of gold. It's a different time frame, but it's the same kind of wave and fractal, and I think that's really concerning. I think it's the biggest risk right now is not having a little bit of gold and having too much fiat currency. So I'll let you chime in. That's
Well,
the main topic.
I get 20 to 30 people write to me every day as a result of being on your show, Mario, and of course the articles I write on LinkedIn. So they get in touch with me via LinkedIn. I try and answer everybody, and I apologize if I miss people because sometimes I do, but I get to answer most people. A lot of them have said, when I say a lot, maybe 10%, that they're waiting for a pullback in gold. They're sure it's coming, and when the pullback comes, they'll be loading up on gold. But I've got just as many people, another 10%, I'd say, who tell me, I'm 99% in gold. Do you think I should buy some more, or words to that effect? So we got people at both ends of the scale, those who are very, very heavily invested and and want to buy more, and those who would like to buy some but are just waiting for this pullback that they believe is coming one day. I personally don't look at it like that. What I'm waiting for is a beautiful coin to come up, which I'd like to buy. And I bought one I showed you on earlier this week, but I bought this one on Wednesday. This is the UK Griffin of Edward III.
Yeah,
It's a really beautiful coin, and it's £100 coin in solid gold, and it's one of 12 in the collection. I've got a few others. I'm a long, long way from getting my complete collection, but they're very, very hard to find. And of course, you pay the gold price plus probably another £150 on top, or 150 Swiss francs in my case. So, but that's okay. I don't really mind because every coin I've ever bought, even though I paid a premium, is
yeah,
worth more today than I paid because the gold price, it's going to go up whatever happens. It may not go up in a straight line, and we could easily have a full pullback. But
yeah.
at the end of the day, looking forward 5 or 10 years now from now, it's not going to be cheaper.
I just think that we are in an accelerated phase and the pullbacks will be sharp but very short-lived. And it's really difficult to time. You just need to personally, you just have to try to buy whenever you can because it's getting more and more unaffordable. And Clive, I remember you telling me, I don't know when, but a few months or a year ago, we've been talking now for a few years that because I said, oh, people should, uh, I look at things in terms of gold, but you said that if you did that, in your professional career, it wouldn't be very helpful because gold up until the year 2000 didn't do really well. But the other thing I wanted to ask you, Clive, and I'll come back to gold and measuring gold, is that it seems like a lot of people are focusing, oh, we've had the best rebound in the stock market for like in the FTSE, apparently is the best 2 week or 3 week rally ever. But isn't that also a sign that we're in a bear market sometimes? Because these rallies only happen after a big drop, don't they? It's usually doesn't happen in a bull market. Bull market is a bit more steady.
Well, unless we make another all-time high in the stock markets, I will continue to say I think they're going to go lower. When I say I continue, I mean it's only very recently I turned negative, and they are a little bit lower. But stock markets can defy gravity. Um, but the economics, the economy is slowing. All the signs are the economy is slowing. Companies are likely to be reporting the impact of the tariffs going forwards, and basically saying our profits are not going to rise as much as previously forecast. So logically, you'd think that the stock should go down, but there's a lot of irrationality in the market, and you never know. I mean, I'm going back to 1994 when stocks were probably just as overvalued as we are now. And then we had one of the greatest stock market rallies in all of history. It went from 1994 through to and then we went to the dot-com bubble of 1999 and early 2000. But of course, when it crashed very big time. It was down, I think at one point the Nasdaq was down like 70% after about 3 years of
Yeah.
declines in succession.
I think it was almost even 89% or something.
Yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot. But first of all, there is a lot of money slushing around, and it's got to go somewhere. But I think people are very much on the edge. There's probably a little bit more sellers. There's an awful lot of people thinking if I could get the old price on Nvidia or Microsoft or one of these Tesla, they're kind of thinking, I'll take my money off the table, but I just don't want to sell at any price less than the highest price I've ever seen.
Yeah, and I want to show this chart here. I was talking about measuring in gold, and this is the FTSE to gold ratio. FTSE 100 is the main UK index. It's like the S&P 500. And Clive, I've heard from people in the last month or so, oh, I bought a FTSE tracker. Is that going to rebound? Is that good? And I said, well, you need to look at some gold as well. And the FTSE has rebounded. But what I'm trying to say here is that since 1999, holding the FTSE versus gold has been a pretty bad trade. Yes, and this is here the rebound we've had in the FTSE, but it still looks really bearish in terms of real money. So just wanted to put that out there. Don't
Yeah,
know
I
if
mean, I perhaps just comment. A lot of people are trying to take positions because we've had a lot of volatility in the stock markets, so people are trying to take positions, and there's as many people going for the bull position as there are bear positions. But what I'm seeing, and I'm seeing this through the comments that people are writing to me, a lot of them are going for these leveraged ETFs. They pay three times the upside or three times the downside, and I want to stress these are instruments which are destined, whether you buy the bull one or the bear one, they are destined to go to zero over time. And that's simply because of the way the mathematics works. I won't go into why the mathematics works like that, but they will, all of them, the bull and the bear ones, the triple that leveraged, they're destined to go to zero. And if you go back over 5 years and look at the bull and bear one, compare them, you'll find they're both down over the 5 years. They're fine if you're a day trader. You go in at 9 o'clock in the morning and come out at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. That's fine. But
yeah.
if you're going to hold them for anything longer than a day, you're on losing.
Oh,
You're losing.
I think that's the worst thing people can do. I got into that like into one of these uh, triple leveraged years ago, and I didn't realize that if you held it for too long, it just lost all its value. And even if the market rallied or went down a lot, it didn't react as you expected it. Yeah, I mean, I worked in the derivatives market, Clive, but I was advising and do, doing business for like professional institutional clients who knew what they're doing, and but the problem is uh, Wall Street and the City of London they've already gotten so much. Yeah, they don't have as much meat on the bone of institutional clients. They don't make as much commission, so they're trying to get the public into it. And talking about getting the public into it, Clive, have you seen that private equity now? They're trying to lure the public into their funds. And from what I always knew, Clive, private equity was just for accredited investors. Maybe you could talk about that. And before you do, though, I just wanted to thank Jake's Custom Parts for his super chat. He says, "Thanks, Mario and Clive." Yeah, so could you talk about this accredited investors? And I think this is dangerous that they want the public to get invested in private equity. Can you tell us what you think it means? I think I know what it means, but I want to see if you think the same
Okay,
as I do.
so every country, I don't know about America, but every country in Europe, including the UK and Switzerland, have qualified investor, accredited investor, professional investor. These are statuses you can have. But by default, everybody has to be a retail investor. And if you're a retail investor, it means that you're only allowed to invest in a very limited range of products which are authorized by the relevant financial regulatory authority. But what every investor can do, if they so wish, is to upgrade themselves, provided they qualify. So typically, to qualify, you need either a certain level of income, perhaps more than 100. I don't know the figures for the UK, but perhaps it's more than £100,000 a year, or you need to have a certain level of assets, and it might be 2 million, for example, or you need to have a certain level of assets and have the requisite knowledge to know what you're doing. So, for example, because you passed some exams or you worked in a financial firm. So, if you have any of these relevant qualifications, like having a high income or having some assets, and this is not including your house, then you can, if you so wish, upgrade yourself. But in doing so, you lose some of the protections afforded to retail investors. Not that that's worth a lot anyway. But once you've upgraded yourself, you're then eligible to buy, and you can now go to your broker, and your broker will now let you buy things that you want to buy, which he said you couldn't buy before. So I often get people writing to me and saying, my broker won't let me buy, and then they give me some investment, like an ETF, for example, like the GDX, for example, so they're not allowed to buy it. And that's because their broker is treating them as a retail investor and they're limited to what they can buy unless they upgrade themselves. So if you do qualify as a professional investor because you've got a certain level of assets, you could ask for the forms from your broker or from your bank. You fill them in, and then if they believe you're telling the truth, you could be upgraded, and then you've got a much wider panoply of investments for you. Now, private equity, um, here's the good and the bad. Historically, private equity has delivered much higher returns than other investments. The bad is that there's many private equity companies have now entered the space, so it's a very crowded space, which means that the returns are not going to be as high going forwards, or unlikely to be as high as they have been in the last decades. Obviously, when there's too little money chasing really good deals, they get those very good deals. But when you've got too much money chasing those very good deals, those very good deals are not good deals anymore. So I think the returns are not going to be as high. And the second thing I'd say is if you are interested in private equity, uh, I would not advise going for the illiquid limited partnerships, which is the traditional way of doing it, because you find yourself locked in and they may call it a 5 or 10 or 12-year partnership. Some of these things are running 20 years after their expiry date and you can't get rid of them. And if you die, if you want to rearrange your affairs, you want to change bank, it's extremely hard to do so if you own a private equity limited partnership because the next bank just won't take it. So you can't get rid of your old bank or your old broker. It's very, very hard to move these things around. So if you do like private equity, I say the way to do it is to buy the quoted private equity companies, which are quoted on the stock exchanges around the world. For example, in London, you've got the Harbour Global Private Equity. In Switzerland, you've got Partners Group. In Sweden, you've got Investor AB. In Belgium, there's Sofina. In Netherlands, there's Process NV. So all around the world, you've got these companies which are quoted on the stock market, and you get daily liquidity. And whether you get a discount or a premium, or whether you pay a discount or a premium, it depends on the private equity company itself. But I wouldn't advise going for the limited partnerships anymore. I think they're just illiquid, and the returns won't be as good as they have been in the past.
Yeah, and they've taken a lot of debt, these private equity firms, and now the liquidity is draining. Clive, someone asked here about this Donald Trump golden visa. I think it's if you pony up $5 million, you get like a residency, or you can go live in the US. And uh, he's wondering whether that will help lift the debt ceiling. I mean, I calculated if 100,000 millionaires bought this, it would be 5 trillion. But I'm not sure if
They'll get a smattering of people who are willing to do it, and probably they're people who are living in countries which are very burdensome or dangerous. But honestly said, I think it's not going to be. There's not going to be armies of people beating their way to America to pay 5 million. Of course, people still want to go to America to get the jobs
well,
or
you can get a
the
green
lifestyle.
card. You can get a green card for less. A
Yeah,
green
and
card still
uh,
exists.
if you're that desperate to get into America, just marry an American and have done with it.
Yeah. Well, it's not that simple, but the other thing I've been reading is that a lot of Americans are leaving, and I'm not judging it, but there's a lot of Americans leaving as well who don't like what's happening. It could be because of what of Trump, or it could be also because it's so divided now, and it seems to me that the same things happen internationally, Clive. The world is getting more and more divided, and I don't think that's a good thing. And I think that's a symptom that, something's wrong with the system. And you got leaders, not just domestically, but internationally, trying to divide and conquer. Is that how you see it?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to just finish off and give a word of warning to those who think they might go to America and become American citizens. Uh, if you are a citizen of the United States, for whatever reason, even if you happen to be born on an aeroplane flying over the United States and you never intended to be there in the first place, nor did your parents, and you're American, the taxman, the American taxman, will follow you around the world wherever you go, and you will have to file tax returns no matter which country you're living in for the rest of your life. And the only way out of that is to get rid of your American citizenship, and they do tax you very heavily on the day you give it
Yeah.
up. So it's not an easy thing. And of course, there's Americans all around the world who didn't know they were Americans because they perhaps were born in New York, but they never had a US passport. They live in Malaysia. They married a Malaysian. They're Malaysian. Their parents were Malaysian. Their wife is Malaysian. Their children are Malaysian. They just happen to have a place of birth in New York. Bad luck. They're
Yeah.
Americans, and when the Americans started clamping down on tax dodgers, they went after every bank in the world and said, turn over every client who's American. And you had to go and look up, and we had to do this every bank, no matter where you were, you had to go and look at every passport and discover if there'd been a place of birth in America or if there was a US
Yeah.
passport and
Boris
report them back
Johnson.
to the USA.
Boris Johnson, the former prime minister here, he was born in New York because his father was working for the UN or something. And up until a few years ago, they were after him for a lot of tax, and he gave up. He had to like renounce his U.S. Citizenship. Someone's asking here, can you explain more about the City of London, what it is, how it works? Yeah, I think someone sent me, posted on X and asked me, is this true? Well, basically, the City of London is the square mile. It's not, uh, people call London the Greater London, but technically it's only the square mile where the financial center is. It's from the wall, the London Wall, which was like built by the Romans, all the way to Temple and about a mile uh, north. And when William the Conqueror invaded England in 1066, he actually gave the city of London sovereignty and allowed them to stay kind of outside his control, and it still is. And that's why, like when the Queen used to visit the city, she had to go with the Lord Mayor, not the mayor of London, but the Lord Mayor of the city, and he walked ahead of her. And the same thing would happen with King Charles. And they even have a representative. I think he's called a seconder, I think, or something. He sits in the House of Commons. So yeah, the city of London is kind of like Washington, D.C. and the Vatican, independent. Do you know about that, Clive, a bit?
You know far more than me, Mario. I mean, the one thing I do know about London is that it's got more banks or more international banks from other countries than any other city in the world. And the reason for that is historic, related to the eurodollar market, because the eurodollar market, every country in the world needed dollars. And obviously, the eurodollar market was operating in the English language because of just the way it was. And they
Yeah.
all gravitated to London.
Well, so let's bring up here Wikipedia, see what they say. So here we go. Um, the City of London, also known as the city, is a ceremonial county, local government district, city status. But yeah, so this is Greater London, but this is actually this is really London here, the city of London. Anyway, there you go. There's the square mile, and
Unfortunately, for those who work in the City of London, they have to pay taxes like everybody else.
yeah, yeah, it's a different. I mean, it's an interesting place. Anyway, Clive, did you see that Warren Buffett has retired?
Yeah, I mean, I think he'd been hinting at it for some time,
Yeah.
and he's kind of nominated his successor.
Yeah.
He was quite critical of the trade policies of the United States on his way out.
Yeah.
Obviously talking about tariffs.
Yeah, I'm just bringing a book here. Someone mentioned this book just now. It's this one here, Clive. The Empire of the City, The Secret History of British Financial Power. So there you go.
Okay, the Empire of the City.
Yeah.
Interesting. What's it about, Mario? About the
Oh,
City of London, I
yeah,
suppose.
yeah, Square Mile. Yeah. And I think there's a documentary. It's on YouTube. It's gotten millions of views about the financial empire. The people argue the British Empire fell, but Britain has a financial empire, and $60 trillion flows through the city of London, and a lot of that money is like offshore in the British uh, offshore places like Bermuda, Cayman Islands, Jersey, so it's very interesting.
There's a bit of tax advice from one of your American listeners there, Mario. I just
Yeah.
saw. His name's Gunja. He says, "We, the people of the United States of America, are not constitutionally or morally liable for the debts incurred between corrupt politicians and criminal financial organizations." There's your tax advice.
Yeah, well, I know. I mean, there's some people argue that the income tax is not constitutional. The other thing is, well, here in the UK, the income tax was imposed after the Napoleonic Wars, Clive, and they said it was going to be to pay for that war, and it was going to be temporary, and we're still paying it. Someone said William's decision to grant the Royal Charter 1694 to the Bank of England, a private institution owned by the bankers, is his most relevant economic legacy. Yeah, that's William of Orange. Yeah, he came from the Netherlands, but he was married to an English princess, wasn't he? I think Mary, Queen Mary. And Clive, this is what Warren Buffett said yesterday when he announced he was retiring. He said there could be things that would happen in the US that would make us want to own a lot of other currencies, which sounds weird because I I always thought Warren Buffett and Berkshire Hathaway, they're really more interested in dollar assets.
I think he's probably talking about gold, Mario. That's another currency, except it's the only currency, isn't it?
Yeah, I saw someone reply to a comment like you said, and said, "Oh," and they laughed, "Gold a currency," but I mean, gold is a currency and money. I mean,
Mhm.
whoever said that doesn't know his monetary history. Uh, Laurel Flynn says Peter Schiff's dad died in jail fighting federal taxes. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I mean, you can try to fight the system, but they're going to make your life very difficult.
Well,
Uh,
the billionaire John McAfee died in jail as well, didn't he?
mm,
He was evading American taxes. He went to Costa Rica, and then he ended up in Eastern Europe, and then he took a trip with his wife to Spain, and the Spanish authorities arrested him, threw him in jail to extradite him, and then someone somehow handed him a nice long rope, and he hanged himself
oh, he was
in
suicide.
jail. Well, he was going to be handed over to the Americans under the
Yeah.
extradition, and I don't think he wanted that.
Yeah. Uh, oh, yeah, Clive, just wanted to talk a little bit about CBDC, seeing that our first ever chat was in November 2022, and it was about the reset CBDCs, and we got like almost 600,000 views. Um, I personally think that Trump, and Musk, they're in this game as well, even though they say they don't want a CBDC, but they're going to bring it through the private sector, in my opinion. Did you know when I went to Florida and I played golf at his golf course there, I went to the pro shop to buy a few things, and I took out some cash, and they said, no, we only take card. So that raised some red flags for me. But I still think that if uh, the globalists and Trump try to put us into a digital prison, I still think it's very much important that we have some physical. because that's going to be the only way that you can stay out of or partially out of this digital prison. How do you see it, Clive?
Well, thankfully, the CBDC seems a little bit slow to come. There's obviously some opposition, but I think it's going to come. Uh, and of course, people do tend to use their cards because it's very convenient. And I'm guilty as charged. I've got to the point where everywhere I go, I don't carry cash. And I found myself quite embarrassed well, I won't say embarrassed, but potentially embarrassed in Turkey. We were in Turkey last week, and we went to a little town to do some shopping. And of course, they've got all their tricks to suck you into the shop, and everyone's saying, "Hello, where are you from?" But anyway, we ended up buying some stuff. It wasn't very much, maybe 60, 70 dollars worth of stuff in a shop. But when it came time to pay, I presented my card. They said, "No, no, no, cash." And I said, "Well, I've only got a card." And then they get out this card machine, but it doesn't work. And they're saying, "Well, give us cash then." I say, "Well, I've got no cash." "Oh, no, euros, euros, euros." I haven't got any euros. I finally discovered I got a 200 Swiss franc note on me. And I said, "Well, how about these 200 franc notes?" "Oh." I said, "No, we don't take British pounds." I said, "No, Swiss francs." No, no, no pounds. They didn't speak very good English, by the way. And anyway, I'm waving this. They didn't want it. And so then the lady says, "I'll take you to the foreign exchange bureau." We go around all these bureaus; they're all closed. But we've eventually she finds one, and I hand over my 200 Swiss francs, and I've looked on the wall what I'm going to get. I've worked it out, and he gives me a ticket and counts it out, and I'm getting about, I don't know, several hundred Turkish lira more than I expected. So I thought, oh well, perhaps it's got to change 200. That's a lot of money, I suppose, for them. Most people change 5 or 10 francs or $10. So I'm not unhappy with the exchange rate I've received. Then we go back and we buy the goods with Turkish lira, which they weren't as pleased as they should have been because they wanted euros. Anyway, we're waiting for our taxi. We've ordered the taxi. The taxi's coming, and I look at the ticket again, and I see that the bureau de change for my 200 franc note, he's put £200 changed into lira. So I'd actually got about 10 to
You got
12%
a bit more.
more.
Yeah.
So I said to Helen, we've got to go back to the shop and give them the money back. So we got up and started walking around looking for the bureau de change. We couldn't find it for love. And then the taxi arrived, and I said, "Well, screw it. Everyone in this town has overcharged us for everything. So now we've overcharged them."
Yeah, and there's a lot of fake stuff in Turkey, isn't it? Like
Absolutely. Every shop was selling fake Gucci, Hermes, Louis Vuitton.
yeah, anyway, yeah, so yeah, I mean, we went for lunch the other day and I tried to I paid I took the cash out and the guy said no cash. And I for like at the front of the restaurant there was a sign that saying that they didn't take cash, so they are able to do that. But my wife and I weren't happy, and we said to ourselves, we'll never go to that restaurant again because we paid for it with the card, but I don't think it's good to stop people from paying with cash.
Well, Mary, if you like paying cash, you'll have to start frequenting the Chinese restaurants. They never take cards.
Yeah, I mean, most places here still take cash. So you need to check though, if because unless they have a sign, they can't do that. But I was talking, the main topic today is about hyperinflation in Weimar, Germany. And Clive, the symptoms, I've been covering that for many years. And the debt has always been there. They had a lot of debt in Germany after the war. We have a lot of debt. But then, there's a lot of political chaos because the emperor, the Kaiser Wilhelm, he abdicated after he lost the war, and Germany became a republic, and it was a mess. Like Bavaria wanted to secede, wanted to become its own country. There's social decay as well, just like now in Western society. There's a lot of like conflict between different segments of society. There's a lot of money printing, and there's a lot of speculation. Why was there a lot of speculation in Weimar Germany too? Well, because having an honest job didn't pay, so people speculated. And the political chaos, that I talked about, that we're definitely starting to see that now, Clive. And even like Alberta in Canada, the province, there's talk now that they want to have a referendum to secede Canada and maybe become independent, or maybe even ask the US to become a country. There's talk now that the Labour government wants to put the UK back into the EU. I mean, there's talk that you could have civil war in the US. So I'm really concerned about hyperinflation because, like you said, people lose faith in the currency, and the currency is managed by the state. So just one, I know where you live, Switzerland, you don't have those symptoms because it's like a haven within like it's an island of tranquility in the middle of a storm.
Yeah, we don't have any inflation, Mario, because everything costs double what it costs everywhere else in the world.
That's
Well,
true.
the Big Mac index indicates that we pay about three times the price of, say, Argentina or somewhere.
Yeah, that's a good
But
thing, though. You don't want to be eating too many of those.
I know. But the one symptom of hyperinflation, or the one thing which, let's say, is a fundamental cause of hyperinflation, is too much debt. Governments, kings, emperors become over indebted, and before they before things fail, they start to debase the currency, or they borrow money from the bankers, and they try all the tricks like executing the bankers who won't lend the money. But eventually they get to a point where they can't borrow any more money, and therefore they can't repay their debts. And they can't borrow from Peter to pay Paul, and that's when the whole thing comes collapsing down. And we obviously we're in a situation here in the Western world, the democratic countries anyway, where the level of debt across all these countries is very, very high. And if we go into a period where it becomes difficult for governments to fund themselves, perhaps because the yield on longer bonds, which is what governments use to fund themselves, if that yield starts to rise, it'll be, well, not even if it starts, even if it stays where it is, the system's going to fail. So the only hope is that they either bring down rates a lot, which I think is part of the plan in America anyway, or they'll try and print their way out of it by having the central banks print money to fund the government until everybody says, I don't trust the currency anymore.
Yeah, you said that uh, they used to kill the bankers if they didn't do what they wanted. And I'm not saying Trump is going to kill Powell, but it says here on Bloomberg, Trump rules out firing Powell while pushing him to cut rates. So there you go, because he knows that they've got too much debt and they need lower rates. Uh, a couple of 2, 3 weeks ago, he was saying, he was very critical of Powell. He was saying that he was going to get rid of him, and then he toned down his rhetoric. And apparently, it was because Scott Bessent told him he needed to cool it down because the markets were getting very chaotic. But talking about cutting rates, we've got a Fed meeting. I think it's Tuesday, starts Tuesday and ends on Wednesday. And I don't think Wall Street is expecting them to cut. Um, but yeah, it says
Well, I'm just looking here at the CME FedWatch rate. It says I think we're at the same rate. What are we at now? Is it it says that the forecast is for 4.25 to 4.5. Is that the rate we're at the moment?
that's the effective. I don't know. I've somewhere like that
Yeah, that's where we are at the moment. So
unchanged. Yeah.
it looks like there's no change forecast. There's only 3% who think the rate will be cut by a quarter percent.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the jobs number were relatively strong, and that put any expectations of a cut to bed. So
But
here,
if you go to July, more than 50% believe we'll have had one cut.
yeah. So what's this here? Fed funds. Yes, now 425 to 450, the target. So
Yeah, and that's what they're forecasting. meeting will announce tomorrow. Not tomorrow, it's this week anyway.
Yeah.
5th of, when is it? I don't see the date now.
Sa-
5th,
Sixth,
7th of May.
sixth and seventh, yeah. But I guess it will be also important to see what they say in their forecasts. Long live coins, thank you for your super chat. Those who give up freedom for safety deserve neither. Benjamin Franklin. Oh yeah, I know of that quote. Yeah, yeah.
Somebody, Winter Night, saying that gold and silver will disappear the minute we go into hyperinflation, and
Oh
he's
yeah.
dead right. I mean,
Oh
the minute people see that gold and silver is a way of preserving their wealth, you won't be able to buy it. It won't
oh
be, no, nobody will sell it to you.
No, and winter nights as another sign of hyperinflation is that bad money will push good money into hiding it. So gold and silver would disappear. Yeah, that's the one. And the other thing, I've spoken to Start Path Academy. He's got a good YouTube channel, Start Path Academy. He grew up in Romania in the 90s, and they had hyperinflation, Clive, after the fall of the Soviet Union or the Warsaw Pact and communism. And he said that people who had gold during the hyperinflation, it was the last thing they tried to get rid of because it was too valuable. So he also said that it's really important to have a tight-knit community and have friends and be a nice person because then you help each other. But if you're a jerk and you don't have any friends, you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah, I always make a point of we have a little supermarket around the corner from us. It's much more expensive than the major supermarket. Well, I say well, it's not much. It's more expensive than the major supermarkets. But I make a point of shopping there all the time because I think it's important to have a relationship with the owner. So basically it's a one-man show. It's like a little corner shop, really, but they sell everything.
Yeah.
And I don't won't say I've got
Is,
they're not personal
is
friends,
he
but
Indian, Clive?
no, no, he's Swiss. Well,
Okay,
probably
no,
no, he's probably not.
because
I
in
mean,
England,
everyone who's Swiss come from somewhere else, but he's not
the
Indian.
corner shops here are mostly owned by the Indians, but
But yeah, it's sensible to have a good relationship with anyone who might be in the
yeah.
supply chain for food.
Yeah, Andrew Brown says, bald guy money suggests the gold silver price will rise significantly from September. Silver above 40, gold will be revalued in 2026, probably on July 4th. Your thoughts? While I never try to set dates like that, and I think gold is already being revalued. I mean, we've gone from uh, yeah, just around 2000 early last year to almost 3,500. So it's happening as we speak. Unless we had like a fixed exchange rate, you know, then I would think, yeah, they will revalue it, but we won't know when. And I'm not sure about this 4th of July thing. This is to do more with Judy Shelton's gold-backed bond that she wants to make it something to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. So, yeah, and I think silver could get above 40 a lot earlier than September, to be honest. What do you think, Clive?
Well, on silver, I think first of all we've got to have a breakout. My level will be if I see $36, we've gone way past the $35 mark, which everyone is saying is the breakout point,
Mm,
and I think then it's an easy ride upwards for quite a while. On and then on gold, I think the central banks are likely to be continuing to buy gold, especially with everything which is going on with the tariffs and the uncertainties. And of course, we've got this München threat or essay about asking the American trading partners to invest in 100-year zero coupon bonds. Um, I did. It probably never happened, but China has basically said if that were to come to pass, it would be a default as far as they're concerned.
Yeah, someone commented here, cold water. My dad was born in 1928 Berlin. His parents dealt with currency collapse. My dad got stuck later with the downfall. His dad did not survive. It's why he ended up in the USA. Oh yeah, I mean, where I lived, grew up in Brazil, we had several currency collapses, and the way to survive there was to have dollars. Really, if you had dollars, you were you did really well if you earned dollars. But if the dollar is going to hyperinflate, well, I think the only thing, Clive, that the only two things that will be worth anything or gold and silver because all the other currencies are going to go because they're all derivatives of the dollar. William says, please, any comment if Mr. Musk can start delivering his autonomous robots? I don't follow that. Do you follow that, Clive? Musk's autonomous robot?
I didn't know. It doesn't surprise me that he's into autonomous robots. I didn't know that. But of course, it's one of the surprises that has astonished me. He hasn't renamed the company AI. He's gone from Twitter to X. So why don't we just shorten the name of Tesla and bring it down to AI.com or something like that?
Yeah.
But he probably does have some robots in the system, and I'm looking forward to having one as my personal servant.
To be honest, I I mean I think this is all publicity stunt. This thing about going to Mars and stuff. I think it's just like yeah. Anyway, uh, the Yarli they are lying. Thank you for your super chat. Uh, they're lying. He's also asking, what do you make of the rumor of Starmer resigning tomorrow, outed in an internal labor coup? What effect do you think it would have on the FTSE and gold? Uh, I haven't heard the rumor, but um, I don't really care much about the FTSE because, as you saw earlier, the FTSE is not really doing too well in terms of gold. I don't know what the impact will be. It will be uncertainty. It will probably hurt the FTSE, help gold, and it would probably drive gilt yields higher. What's your view, Clive?
Well, didn't they have a by-election a few days ago? And was it Nigel Farage's? Is it Reform Party?
Yeah,
He's
they
part of.
won, and they
They
also
won
won a lot
first
of.
seat,
Yeah, they also had local elections in some places, and they won a lot as
and
well.
it was kind of the biggest swing in all of history in
Yeah.
that particular district. So if there's some sort of disruption in government, I think there will be some uncertainty because nobody will know how it's going to turn out, especially now we have a new contender potentially.
Yeah, and I think they're saying now that reform is the main opposition, not conservatives. But anyway, I've got some more things here, Clive. Fort Knox, there's talk. Oh yeah, someone just mentioned about Fort Knox. Yeah, they talked about having an audit, but now that's gone off the burners, probably because they don't have the gold there, in my opinion. Or they're trying to close all the leases that go. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, that's what happened in 1971 when all the foreign countries asked for their gold back and they couldn't have it.
Yeah.
So it's entirely possible that the sums or the amount of gold which is in the vaults won't tally with what they say they've got, and there's all sorts of reasons for that. But yeah, I don't want to speculate, but I think if we have an audit, they'll tell us it's there. But it's possible that some of these gold bars are not real because don't forget the testing methods we have today probably didn't exist back in the days when they took all this gold into the vaults.
Yeah, someone beer break one saying Trump is the best salesman for bricks. I actually agree with that because he's disrupting things so much around the world that a lot of not just the BRICS, but other countries are trying to find different countries to deal with, different trade avenues, different supply chains, and I would add Europe to that as well, Clive. And I'm not criticizing Trump. I'm just saying what is happening. So, yeah, and I think Trump and Besant know that BRICS are going to go into some kind of gold dependent system because if the dollar goes and is well, the dollar is going in terms of the rest of the world. People are trying to get away from it as much as possible. The only thing that really that you can trust that has been there for thousands of years would be gold.
Yeah, I mean, coming back to whether they'll have this July 4th revaluation of gold or not, it doesn't make sense to put a date on it, but I think it would be a sensible move for the United States to revalue gold upwards, at least to the market value, and the higher the market value is, the better for them, because in doing so, they can immediately book a profit, which will reduce the budget deficit, which is going to be $1.8 trillion in the current financial year. It'll probably reduce the current deficit by up to $1 trillion if they revalue it at the market value. And, they could probably do the same trick again next year because the gold price probably, if they do have a revaluation and they make it a currency where you could actually get that much money for your gold because they now say it's worth that much, you're underpinned. And I think that means it's going to be higher next year.
Yeah.
So they could repeat the trick.
Clive, have you seen this photo? Someone just asked about this. I'm going to bring it up. I think he looks pretty good as Pope. Hold on, that one here. I think he looks pretty good as Pope, but I'm not sure he'll be selected uh, in they call it the conclave, don't they?
Yeah, would be quite surprising if we get that sort of announcement. We're going to wait for the white smoke to come out of the chimney, I believe.
Oh, yeah, is it white? I thought it was had to be black now
Oh,
politically.
it could be the other way around. I don't
I'm
know.
joking. I'm joking. Uh, Monaco's, someone's asking, do you know what's happening to BRICS? Well, I think it's just growing and growing, BRICS. And, even Japan said that they don't want to, rattle their relationship. They're the biggest trading. China is Japan's biggest trading partner as well. I wouldn't put it past Japan getting closer to BRICS either. So that's what's happening to BRICS. What about Basel III? Someone's asking about Basel III, Clive. And the thing about Basel III, a lot of people think it's going to start from the beginning of July this year. But like you said, Basel III is just like suggestions, isn't it? It doesn't
So
necessarily mean
it,
that countries have to adopt it.
it's scheduled to be adopted by the UK and the European Union this year. At least that's what we're reading. America haven't set a scheduled date yet, but they're likely to do so based on following the previous Basel regulations. I think there's a few countries which have already adopted it, and the feature of the Basel III rules are, among lots of other things, is that banks will be able to treat gold as a tier one asset, which is the asset of the highest possible quality, like as far as they're concerned, just like cash, which means that if you have your reserves in cash or gold, and that means physical gold in your actual possession, as opposed to leased out, it means that you can call it a tier one asset and therefore you don't need to have as much other assets. So, for example, if you have assets which are mortgages, you need a lot more uh, of those assets than you do cash or gold. So, it's likely that banks who do have gold out on lease, in order to have a better capital position, it's likely they'll call in that gold and ask for it to be returned to their vaults
Hmm.
because Unless they've actually physically got it in their possession, it's no good owning an ETF. That doesn't work. They've got to actually have physically
Yeah.
have the asset.
Yeah. Someone was saying, I think it was Rafi, because he said that Keith Weiner said that it's not true, what people like you and me and others have been saying about, because he said banks don't hold gold for themselves. But is that true? But I would say if they hold gold for their clients and they hold it in physical, I mean, why wouldn't banks hold gold for themselves either?
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense for banks to diversify their reserves. I mean, they
Yeah,
seem to be quite happy holding Greek bonds
yeah,
and bonds
yeah,
of half the American continent,
yeah.
which
But
are all likely to go bust.
even for their clients, I think they'll probably recommend don't hold the unallocated stuff anymore. Hold the physical.
Let me just read this.
Yeah,
It's from ChatGPT, by the way. Under Basel III, physical gold held in a bank's own vaults
yeah,
is reclassified as a tier one asset, placing it on a par with cash and high quality government bonds.
yeah.
It means that banks can now count physical gold at its full value when calculating their capital reserves, making it a more attractive asset. Conversely, unallocated gold, such as gold-backed ETFs, etc., futures, derivatives, blah, 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 are treated less favorably under Basel III.
Someone's asking what's the auditing standards to prove gold purity. Well, I think they'll probably use the LBMA 5.9 standard. Yeah, I'm sure that's like secondary. I'm sure the banks will make sure they check whether the gold is real. But someone asked Clive about the British pound. When will it hyperinflate? I think it will hyper. It's already hyperinflating along with the dollar, the euro, maybe not so much the Swiss franc. But I think when the dollar goes, they will all go because I think Clive, when the Fed starts printing and doing, more QE, cutting rates. You can bet the Bank of England is going to go along with it. You can bet, well, the ECB is already cutting, and even, the Swiss National Bank is cutting already. So there you go. That's the way I see it. No currency will escape hyperinflation.
I mean, if the dollar or any large Western country goes into hyperinflation, it will have a ripple effect on all the other countries. And so the same thing will happen.
And I think the Chinese and the Russians and other non-Western countries, they know this is coming, and that's why they're buying a lot of gold. They're not buying as a trade; they're buying to protect uh, the financial, yeah, health of their nations, I think. And it's a shame that the UK only has 300 tons, and that Gordon Brown sold half of its reserves back about 25 years ago. So there you go.
Cost a lot of money if they wanted to buy that back. Sold it at sort of two to $300, and now they'd have to
Yeah.
buy it back at two to well, three
The
thousand
only,
dollars. Yeah,
yeah,
and of course the pound has gone down in the interim period, hasn't it?
yeah. The only saving grace, Clive, could be that the Bank of England holds about 5,000 tons for in custody for other nations. And there's the old saying that possession is 9/10 of the law, right? And we're an island.
Yeah. So you're suggesting, Mario, we might just seize the foreign nation's gold. I don't think that's likely, but you never know.
You never know. I
I
mean,
mean, they took Argentina's gold, not Argentina, Venezuela's gold, didn't they?
they haven't released it. Yeah, that's right. We've got another 3 minutes. Yeah, keep the questions coming because a lot of times it's difficult to get all the questions in the comment section in other videos. And you guys probably notice we also getting a lot of spam from people issuing coins and stuff. That's not me. I tried to delete them, but it's really hard. Someone is asking here, Clive, I borrowed 25,000 pounds and bought gold when it was 1,250 pounds. I'm doing well at the moment. Uh, Hopefully, I mean, hopefully you've paid back your loan. I would never borrow to buy gold personally, because I think gold is like you buy having gold is like having savings, Clive. So why would you borrow money to save? Doesn't make sense, does it? But I guess in the fiat currency world, it could make sense. I mean,
Well,
you've done well.
Cedric, he's obviously this guy, Cedric Very, his name is. He's obviously a genius, having done it. But maybe you should take the money off the table now, and then at least you've got something you can guarantee to
Yeah,
boast
you
about.
can. I mean, you can pay the whole loan, and you have 25,000 because we've doubled since you bought there at 1250. And Durarama asked, does hyperinflation affect daily goods, food, gas? Oh yeah, it affects everything, in Durarama. You will probably won't be able to get food, gas, or uh, it's very hard to get food. And why is that? Well, because farmers they won't want to sell their produce for money that's worthless. So it's a really bad, it's the death of money. That's what it is. And when there's no money, unless you've got some, Lynette Zeng talks about having silver, which is you can barter with it or use it as money in the hyperinflation. But
I mean, there is an important reason why there will be no food if we go into a hyperinflationary environment, and that is due to the thefts which are going to occur. So when a country has high inflation, there's a lot of poverty created. So people start to steal the food in the fields. In other words, they cut the corn, they steal the corn or the beetroot or the potatoes or whatever it is, long before it's ready to be sold. And so the way that works, it's the first one to get to the field gets to steal the goods before everybody else steals them. So the farmer then says, well, screw this. I'm not going to grow any crops because everything I grow gets stolen before I can get it to market.
yeah.
So the farmers stop producing, and then there is no food in the food supply anymore.
Yeah, that's the other thing as well. And aside from not wanting to sell for a currency that's going to lose half its value in an hour. Mr. B, I'd like to thank you for being the moderator. Yeah, and so we got one more question. If the US revalued gold, what would that do to the price of silver? Well, first of all, I think if they revalued gold from $42 and 22 cents to let's say 3,500, the market price of gold would go through the roof. So because that 3,500 would now be a floor that would never be like broken again. So gold would go crazy, and I think silver would go crazy too. I don't know what price, but yeah, it would be. What do you think, Clive?
Well, I think it'd be rather nice if the world could go back onto a genuine gold and silver by metallic standard,
Mm,
because it'd get rid of this problem of distrust of the government debt, get rid of the problem of rising prices, because gold would be a natural break on overspending by governments. They wouldn't be able to spend money they haven't got.
yeah.
So yeah, but as to whether it would affect silver, it would definitely affect silver if there's a suggestion that we go onto a bimetallic standard.
Yeah, I think, Clive, the other thing that we need to go back to sound money and not having fiat currency is that the people will have to want it. And I think that can only happen when we go through a huge crisis and everything collapses. And I think they might try to bring their CBDC. I think they will try to bring their CBDC, but that's going to fail too because the CBDC is not backed by anything unless they back it with something real.
I
So,
mean, when the CBDC arrives, and it is arriving in Europe, I'm afraid, think of it like a food voucher, because you'll only be allowed to put a certain amount of money into your CBDC wallet, and they will be able to control, if they choose to do so, everything you do with your money. So later on, we'll get to the situation where they say, really sorry, but we're going to limit how much of the old currency you can transfer at 1 to 1 into the new currency, the CBDC. because the old currency is basically destroying the economy. And then you'll effectively have the two currencies splitting apart, the old euro and the new euro being the CBDC, effectively splitting into two, with the old one trading at a massive discount or zero.
All right, Clive, we're gonna call it a night. It's we've gone past the hour mark. Just wanted to thank you, Clive, for being on again, and I wanted to tell the viewers to check out Clive's YouTube channel, Clive Thompson, and make sure he's got some really good videos there about more about investing and how to value stocks and things like that. And make sure you subscribe if you're interested. I'd like to thank all of you guys for the super chats and all your very good questions. And I wish you all a great week.
Thank you, Mario, and have a lovely weekend. And thanks to all your listeners for the lovely comments that you're making.
Yeah, thank you guys, and take care. Okay.